Have you noticed yourself becoming more selective about who you spend time with as you get older? If that thought resonates with you, rest assured, you're not alone. As time passes, many people begin distancing themselves from social circles they once cherished. But this shift isn't driven by negativity or indifference. It's often the result of something deeper, wisdom gained over the years. In today's video, we'll explore 6 psychological reasons why avoiding certain people becomes a natural part of aging. These aren't just surface-level explanations. Each reason is rooted in experiences that many individuals undergo, even if they don't always express them openly. Some of these reasons might challenge your perspective, while others might feel all too familiar. By the end of this video, you'll not only understand the psychological shifts at play, but also gain more compassion for your personal journey. The truth is, distancing yourself from certain individuals may not be something to regret. It could very well be one of the healthiest and most insightful decisions you've ever made. Stick with us till the end, and you'll discover why this new path is completely normal. Let's dive in. Reason number 1. The burden of past betrayals. As we age, we don't just accumulate years, we accumulate experiences, some of which leave lasting emotional scars. Over time, we begin to carry the weight of these past moments, and they become part of who we are. Some scars are small and easy to overlook, like a fleeting argument with a friend or a disagreement that fades with time, but others are much deeper. These are the wounds that come from breaches of trust, feeling dismissed, or exposing our vulnerability only to have it exploited. These are the moments when we put ourselves out there only to be hurt. And as we grow older, we become more attuned to these old echoes, remembering the betrayals and disappointments more vividly. We begin to realize that not out of bitterness or anger, but out of wisdom, not everyone is deserving of our trust or proximity. Take the example of Sarah, a 75-year-old woman who once prided herself on being the heart of her social circle. She would host dinners, organize events, and fill her home with laughter and conversation. But over the years, Sarah's circle of friends began to shrink. Some simply faded away, while others, those to whom she had opened her heart, betrayed her trust. One friend turned her back when Sarah needed her most, while another disappeared after her husband's death, leaving Sarah feeling isolated and abandoned. It wasn't a single catastrophic event, but a slow, steady stream of small heartaches that gradually shifted her perspective. These days, Sarah prefers the quiet of her own company over the noise of forced socialization. Not because she dislikes people, but because she values peace more than maintaining appearances or fulfilling expectations. This shift in social behavior isn't an indication of becoming cold or cynical. It's the result of a long life shaped by experience. Over time, we build a kind of quiet armor, a protective shield around our hearts. It may not always feel comforting, but it is essential for our emotional well-being. When you've seen people change, disappear, or hurt you in ways you didn't expect, you naturally begin to guard your time, energy, and heart. You realize that not every relationship is worth investing in, and not everyone is entitled to your emotional space. This is especially true for older adults who have poured their love and support into others, only to have it thrown back in their faces. Psychologists call this phenomenon relational fatigue. It's when maintaining connections becomes more draining than rewarding, particularly for those who have endured emotional hardships. There's absolutely no shame in this. It's a sign that you've lived deeply, witnessed both kindness and harm, and have learned to discern what's truly valuable in your relationships. Choosing solitude or space over closeness isn't fueled by anger or resentment. It's an expression of understanding. As we grow older, we come to realize that our hearts, our time, and our energy are precious commodities. Not everyone is entitled to them, and that's okay. If you've experienced this shift, know that it's part of the natural progression of life. It's about protecting yourself and making choices that honor your well-being. Reason number 2, the longing for peace. Over idle chatter as we age, our relationship with social interactions begins to change. In our younger years, we may have been quick to engage in conversations that lack depth, those casual, sometimes pointless exchanges that filled the silence. Whether it's gossip, rumors, or small talk, we might have participated in these discussions simply to avoid awkwardness or to fit in. But as the years pass, something shifts. Our tolerance for these empty conversations starts to fade. It's not that we don't like people, but rather we come to value peace and meaningful dialogue over idle chatter. The tranquility of silence becomes a gift, one that we cherish more than we ever thought possible. Once you experience the profound calm that quiet brings, it's hard to trade it for superficial exchanges. Take Linda, a 68-year-old woman who once loved hosting dinner parties filled with lively chatter. She would enjoy discussing everything from the weather to the latest gossip. But today, Linda finds herself avoiding those kinds of gatherings. She now prefers evenings alone or with a small, close-knit group of people who share her love for deep conversation. If asked why she has changed, she simply says, "I've outgrown meaningless talk. I want peace, not noise." This shift in perspective isn't a rejection of others. It's a natural evolution towards valuing quality over quantity. As we grow older, we start to conserve our emotional energy. The need to impress others, the pressure to participate in every conversation or event fades. What takes its place is a desire for authenticity. We begin to seek interactions that are genuine, real, and grounded in sincerity. If those types of conversations aren't available, many of us would rather spend the evening with a book or a warm drink, enjoying the solitude that allows us to recharge. This doesn't mean we've become distant or antisocial. Rather, it reflects our intentionality in choosing how and with whom we spend our time. As we grow older, we become more discerning in our relationships, knowing that our peace and emotional well-being are worth protecting. It's about prioritizing what nourishes us and letting go of what drains us. And when we embrace this newfound clarity, we begin to understand that the richness of life doesn't come from the number of people around us. Sometimes a single meaningful conversation or a quiet evening is far more fulfilling than hours spent in forced socializing. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights meaningful, please comment number 2 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I suggest you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support helps us continue producing good content to educate and inspire you. Reason number 3, the sense that people don't get you anymore. As we journey through life, we encounter many changes, some expected, some completely unexpected, and at some point, you might find yourself looking around, realizing that the world has evolved in ways that make you feel distant, as if you no longer belong. The slang is unfamiliar, the trends have shifted, and the conversations have become more about fleeting moments than meaningful connections. The speed of everything, relationships, expectations, even the way people communicate, feels like it's moving faster than you can keep up with. As this change unfolds, you might begin to notice something unsettling. People don't seem to understand you anymore. It's not that they are actively trying to ignore or dismiss you. It's just that over time, the gap between your experiences and theirs becomes more pronounced. Take the example of Frank, a 77-year-old man who once loved telling his grandchildren. Stories about the good old days, about how different life was when he was their age. But now when he speaks, his grandchildren glance at their phones or change the subject altogether. He's not being rude, but he is being dismissed. This gradual disconnection isn't always intentional. People simply don't take the time to understand where you're coming from. And that subtle dismissal starts to feel like a constant wall between you and them. This sense of being misunderstood can be a quiet form of loneliness. You might find yourself in rooms full of people, yet feel invisible. You share your thoughts, but they don't seem to land. When you express a concern, you're met with eye rolls or remarks that invalidate your feelings. Psychologists refer to this as emotional invalidation, a phenomenon that affects many older adults. It's not about clear rejection. It's about those small, seemingly insignificant moments where your feelings and thoughts aren't truly heard. These moments accumulate over time, slowly wearing down your desire to connect. But here's the truth. Your thoughts still matter. Your voice still carries weight. Just because others may not hear you doesn't diminish your value. It simply means that certain conversations, certain connections, are no longer where you belong. It's okay to outgrow those spaces. In fact, it's part of the growth process. Sometimes the best thing you can do isn't to force yourself into a conversation, but to find people or spaces where you don't need to explain yourself, where being yourself is enough. And when those people are rare, it's natural to step back, to seek solitude, and to guard your energy. In that stillness, you will find peace, and in that peace you will rediscover who you truly are. Reason number 4, the fear of being a burden. As we grow older, there's a quiet, often unspoken fear that creeps into our minds. It's not necessarily a fear of illness or death. It's something more subtle, but equally powerful, the fear of becoming a burden. It's a feeling that many of us will recognize, but struggle to articulate. The idea of becoming an inconvenience to those we love, of needing help or attention that might disrupt the lives of those around us, can be overwhelming. It's a fear that, despite our best efforts, tends to settle in and linger, becoming a silent influence in the way we live our lives. This fear doesn't stem from a lack of love or care for those around us. On the contrary, it comes from a deep sense of respect and self-awareness. We don't want to impose on others, and so we retreat. We go quiet. We hold back, not because we're stubborn, but because we don't want to feel like a responsibility. You might start saying no to invitations not because you're uninterested, but because you don't want to disrupt someone's day. You might not reach out for help, even when you need it, because you don't want to become a source of stress for those you care about. Take, for instance, the case of Justin, an 84-year-old widower who once spent every weekend with his daughter's family. As his health declined and his mobility became more limited, Justin began to decline their invitations. When asked why, he explained, "I don't want them to have to change their lives for me. They have their careers, their children. I'd just be in the way." His family never made him feel like a burden, but his fear of being one was powerful enough to keep him at a distance, even though he craved the closeness and connection. This fear is something deeply human. It's the wish to be loved freely, not because it's an obligation, but because it's a genuine desire. The more we depend on others, the more we struggle with the idea of asking for help. It feels unfamiliar, perhaps even uncomfortable, because for so long we've been the strong one, the helper, the one others turn to. Now, when it's our turn to lean on others, it feels like we're breaking an unspoken rule. But here's the truth. Those who love you don't see your needs as a burden. They want to be there for you, to help, to share in your joys and challenges. Your value doesn't come from your self-reliance, but from the person you are. If you truly trust those around you, you'll find that asking for help doesn't make you weak, it makes you human. Still, the fear remains, influencing the way we behave, making us hesitate to speak up, to reach out, to join in. And over time, it becomes easier to retreat into solitude rather than face the discomfort of depending on others. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights helpful, please comment number 4 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I suggest you subscribe to Grow with Wisdom and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support helps us continue sharing meaningful content to inform and encourage you. Reason number 5, the joy of being on your own. At a certain stage in life, the desire for constant company begins to fade, and a new appreciation for solitude starts to take root. This isn't because of loneliness or isolation, but because you've discovered something that many people never fully realize. Your own presence is enough. There is a quiet, rare kind of peace that arrives when you no longer feel the need to impress anyone, explain yourself, or pretend to be someone you're not. Over the years, you may have been surrounded by work, family, social commitments, constantly on the go. During those times, it was hard to carve out a space just for yourself. But now, when you experience that stillness, it becomes something sacred, something worth protecting. It's not a void, but rather a sanctuary. Consider the story of Thomas, an 82-year-old man who used to thrive in social settings. His house was always the gathering place, and his laughter could fill any room. But in recent years, Thomas has found more joy in simple moments of solitude, like sitting on his porch and watching the birds. When asked if he ever feels lonely, he laughs and responds, "I've got enough memories in my head to keep me busy for days." What Thomas has discovered is not loneliness, but peace. This shift often confuses those around you. They may worry, assuming that your newfound solitude is a sign of sadness or withdrawal. But in reality, it's a deeper connection to something more meaningful, an internal rhythm that's quieter but richer. You begin to realize that you no longer need to fill every silence or justify every action. Being alone no longer feels like a void to be feared, but a space where you can simply exist. This isn't detachment, it's insight. After years of giving, helping, and constantly showing up for others, solitude becomes a refuge. It's where you heal, reflect, and where your truest self can breathe freely. As you get older, the understanding settles in. Some of the most peaceful, fulfilling days don't require anyone else's presence at all. You move at your own pace, follow your own thoughts, and for the first time in a long while, you feel whole. Not because the world has changed, but because you've claimed your place in it. If you're still watching and finding these insights valuable, comment number 5 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, consider subscribing to Grow with Wisdom and turning on the bell for notifications. Your support helps us continue sharing meaningful content that can inspire and guide you. Reason number 6, the quiet fading of old relationships. Some relationships don't end with arguments or dramatic farewells. Instead, they simply fade into the background as time passes. You don't consciously choose to drift apart, but life has a way of shifting priorities, changing routines, and nudging people in different directions. And before you know it, the people who once filled your calendar are no longer a regular part of your daily life. This kind of gradual disconnection isn't always painful. Sometimes it brings a sense of calm and relief. Yet, there are moments when it leaves behind a quiet sadness, a sense of something once cherished slipping away, not through force or confrontation, but through the natural flow of life. You reflect on the time you spent together, shared meals, late-night talks, laughter, and companionship, and wonder what happened. Was it them? Was it you? Or perhaps it was both of you. Take, for example, the story of Wanda, a 73-year-old. Woman who had a close friendship with her best friend from high school. They used to take walks together every week, sharing their lives and stories as they strolled. But over the years, those weekly walks turned into monthly ones, then yearly, and eventually they stopped altogether. There was no argument, no hard feelings, just an understanding that their paths had changed. Their interests evolved, their routines shifted, and the connection quietly faded. Wanda once said, "We still care about each other, but I think we've said everything we needed to say." This experience is more common than many realize. Friendships that are built on shared experiences, like raising children together, working side by side, or being neighbors, don't always last when those life stages end. As you grow older, you may find yourself surrounded by people who no longer reflect the person you're becoming. And while it may feel like a loss, it's actually a form of growth. When you reach a point where you value your time and energy more, you naturally become more selective about where you invest them. It's not because you've outgrown those relationships, but because you've become more attuned to your own needs. Sometimes what you need most is space. Space to breathe, to reflect, and to simply exist without the pressure of maintaining relationships that no longer align with your inner self. Old friends who once energized you might now feel draining, and conversations that were once easy may begin to feel forced. Instead of clinging to these connections, you choose to step back, not out of anger, but out of respect for yourself. People often say that growing older means losing people, but what they don't often mention is that sometimes the decision to create distance is yours. You begin to understand that closeness without true connection can feel lonelier than solitude. So when you decide to let go of certain relationships, it's not about rejecting others, it's about embracing the person you're becoming and respecting the changes within yourself. If you're finding this video helpful, comment number 6 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, consider subscribing to Grow with Wisdom and turning on the bell for notifications. Your support helps us continue sharing valuable content to inspire and encourage you on your journey. Now, let's wrap things up with some final thoughts. Which part of today's video resonated with you the most? Was it the quiet fading of old relationships, or perhaps the realization that you no longer need to justify your need for peace? Whatever it was, I hope this video reminded you of something important. You're not falling apart, you're simply transforming. Pulling back from others doesn't mean you're angry or distant. It might just mean you've grown wiser. You've lived through many years, and those years have granted you the wisdom to be more intentional with your time and energy. You now have the ability to protect your calm, respect your own rhythm, and seek meaning not from external connections, but from the quiet certainty within. There is honor in being alone. There's power in knowing your limits. And there's real freedom in no longer needing to prove your worth through constant activity or always being connected. If you've found yourself stepping away from certain people, take a moment to reflect. You might realize that what you're really craving isn't distance, it's alignment. And let this video serve as a reminder that even in your moments of pause, you are still noticed. Even in your silence, you are understood. And even in your solitude, you are not truly alone. Many others are walking the same path with quiet strength, deep reflection, and a clearer sense of what truly matters. Thank you for spending time with us today. We'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment below and share one insight you gained and how you'll carry it forward in your life. Your voice matters, so don't hesitate to share your thoughts. We find inspiration and encouragement in your comments. If this video spoke to you and offered something of value, please like, subscribe, and share it. Your support allows us to continue creating content that uplifts and empowers. Thanks for watching, and we can't wait to see you in the next video. Grow with wisdom.